right here and then right here.
Charles Feldman with CNN. If we can explore just a bit this missing link that you're looking for, and I recognize this is a fluid situation for you, but it seems as if what you're saying now is you're not really comfortable with the notion that there was an event that began in the wheel well itself, or the door of the wheel well. You don't seem comfortable with the notion that the debris that fell off the booster would have been of sufficient impact to have caused the catastrophic event that we saw on Saturday. Can you give us a sense of what are some of the operating theories that are being explored that you think are logical, that you feel comfortable with, that in your mind might help explain to your satisfaction what could have caused this kind of event?
Well, it's a mystery to us, and we seem to have some conflicting information. But the information of the temperature increase in the wheel well, even though it's small, it's unusual, it's not normal. The mid-fuselage, it's not normal. That seems to indicate that we have some type of thermal event going on. Where that thermal environment is coming from, we don't know. It does not seem plausible to me and to our engineers right now that the genesis of the problem to be in the wheel well. That does not seem plausible to us, just because the temperature should have reflected a greater rate of increase if you were getting the plasma into the wheel well. So there must be something else, and we don't know what that something else is. And so that missing link is out there, and here we are 48 hours from the event. So we're still struggling with it. We've made significant progress from Saturday to today. And I think over time we're going to make more progress. If we can get our hands on that piece of debris that really helps us indicate where the genesis of the problem is, that would be very important. If we find a piece of tile, each tile is individually coded. And if we find that tile and can decipher the code, we'll know exactly where it came from on the wing. And that's the missing link that we're trying to find. Once we piece that together, then we can map it and then make it fit the scenario. We have pieces of information, but I think it's around the edges. And that missing link is out there, and we just need to be persistent and go find it. I'm confident that we'll get more information that will help us come up with a plausible scenario. But we may never know the exact root cause, because we may never gather all the evidence to pinpoint it happened at this location for this cause. We may never know that. And so we're going to have to use our best judgment as to root cause. But we're going to work our darndest to figure that out and fix it.
Okay, we'll get Marcia and then Mark.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press. Ron, all these meetings that were held between the 20th and the 27th, do you have any idea of how many engineers were involved in all these various meetings? And during this time and even after that, was there any concern expressed by even a single individual, any reservations to the conclusion that ultimately was made?
At the time, I was not aware of any reservations by any individual in our team. Certainly, if you extrapolate out our analysis and look at the worst case and say, but what if we're wrong? And that is not uncommon in our business. In fact, we encourage that. If people they're not satisfied with the results or the analysis, or if there's something in their gut that tells them there's more work to be done, we encourage them to come forward and talk about it. And at the time, I was not aware of anybody that had those feelings, at least to the point where they would want to come forward and identify that there's still something that they think remains undone. We also have a system. We have a reporting system, a safety reporting system, agency-wide, that any individual can identify a concern, a safety concern. They can identify their concerns, their thoughts. They can do it anonymously. It's input into the system, and we immediately react to it. we received none of those types of alerts. So even though I can't say for certainty, Marcia, that there weren't people out there that had some reservations. In fact, I would think it unusual that we had 100% of 17,000 people that work on this program to have 100% consensus and no reservations. That doesn't happen on even the easiest problems. So I would suspect there were some that had some reservations, but I was not aware of that. And if they did have reservations, at least they weren't brought to my attention. Now, I am aware, here 2 days later, that there have been some reservations expressed by certain individuals, and it goes back in time. And so we're reviewing those reservations again as part of our database. They weren't part of our playbook at the time because they didn't surface, they didn't come forward. But now that the event happened and now that this data has come forward concerning some reservations, or even their belief of the worst case what-if situation, we're going to look at that. We're going to pay attention to it.
Okay, I have time for two more here, Mark, and then right here.
From the Houston Chronicle. How did you deal with the possibility that this foam was actually more massive because it had ice in it or on it? How did you eliminate that possibility, or did you consider it? And I'm just wondering, you know, altogether, are you now taking this off your list of possible contributions to the accident?
I don't think I'm smart enough today, Mark, to talk to you about the ice contribution to the mass of the debris. May have to work on that a day or two and ask me that question on Wednesday. I'll go off and learn some more about that relationship. I don't know that today. But certainly this debris is one of our primary areas of emphasis. We are completely redoing the analysis from scratch. We want to know if we made any erroneous assumptions. We want to know if we weren't conservative enough. We want to know if we made any mistakes. And so we are redoing the complete analysis. Secondarily, we have a team of engineers and managers and technicians that are working to understand the shedding of the debris itself from the external tank. And this is how we're approaching it. We're making the assumption from the start that the external tank was the root cause of the problem that lost Columbia. That's our starting point when we look at the tank. And based on that assumption, what is the fault tree that would substantiate that particular assumption? And so we're attacking that. That's a fairly drastic assumption, and it's sobering. But we've asked our ET, our external tank project management and their personnel and our contractor to make that assumption and see where that leads us. And so even though that's a drastic assumption, I think that's what we need to do.
Okay, right here.
Samantha Levine, U.S. News and World Report. Is there any expectation that all these pieces of debris that you're finding scattered over this large area are ever going to be pieced together as a way to possibly reconstruct what happened? And if so, where might that occur? Would that be at Barksdale, or would that be in some other location?
Well, I'm hopeful that the areas that we are most interested in, we will find enough debris to reconstruct. I'm really hopeful that's the case, because if that's not the case, then identifying the missing link is going to be much harder. As far as the staging area, all that debris that we gather is going up to Barksdale Air Force Base, and that's going to stay there for the immediate future. We are discussing where the final resting place of this debris will be. And I believe by the time I talk with you again on Wednesday, we'll have that nailed down and agreed to. and I'll be able to let you know where we think the final resting place of all this debris will be.
Okay, let's go to Florida for 5 questions from the Kennedy Space Center, please.
Ron, this is Craig Cavalt with Aviation Week. Viewing it from the drag side of the equation, are you equating loss of specific tile acreage to the drag figures you're seeing? And relative to the overall Columbia tile picture, not the debris hit issue, did Columbia have any unusual tile pull data either at Palmdale or here at KSC after the HST flight?